Looks very nice, Alan.
And everybody see that?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
That's Al Peterson.
Well, this was we'll go ahead and start. This is about a 20-minute retrospective on what your fellow DVFFers were doing during this oddest of odd years. And it would have been easy to really go under the covers like Kilroy and just stick your nose out and not do anything. But that's not what we did as a club or as individual fishers. We were out there. If you weren't, or if you were and I didn't get a picture from you, send me one anytime during the year. You'll be 1 year older when you show up on this show. So some of us did not make it to the river many times. Mike Flynn, one of those. His memory was of the special rod that he built in Wayne Hofer's garage.
Oh,
It is
wow.
a beautiful rod, and he is anxious to get out and try that in a COVID-free condition.
Wow.
This year was the inaugural year for our Frank Harris Youth Scholarship, which was Frank's passion to have kids embrace the sport. And Samiko Jones was our first recipient. She got a scholarship to the Fly Shop Fish Camp for 5 days of fishing. And like many kids, they have an unfiltered view of the world. And I think this pretty well says it for this presentation. I like fly fishing because it takes you to places you would never normally go.
That's
With
true.
that, let's take a dip into DVFF's destinations. One of the great things to do when you go is to record what you saw, and 3 of our members were honored to be recognized by Cal Trout in their photo contest. This is my favorite, as you might expect. It's a bug, a salmon fly, but Kirsten calls it trout ribeye. 2 finalists
Wow.
are the next 2, and this picture by Owen Turner is being featured on the Cal Trout multimedia literature. And so you'll see this if you go to a number of Cal Trout pages. The early bird. I'm hoping he wasn't using worms there. This is quite a unique picture. I had never seen this view before. Brian Miller is not just a fly fisherman and an experienced Fall River visitor, but he's a photographer. He happens to be good friends with Val Atkinson, who is the gold standard for many of us for fishing photography. Later in this presentation, you're going to see Brian, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this long stretch of the river here is called Zugbug Alley. It's famous for its hatches, and you'll see why it's also Brian's memory of the year. So for the first time, I believe in club history, having checked with the people who go back the farthest, we took a fish census to see what we were up to. I think this was a challenging year, probably not representative,
Yeah.
but 51
But
people
make sure this
reported.
thing is on.
What thing?
Where it says, you know, where
150.
the volume is, that is an X'd out as well.
Yeah.
Well, 1,259 days at least
Can't,
were fished.
unless I
Alan?
leave.
Hang on a second.
I have to minimize this screen to go to.
Now go ahead, Alan.
The host
Okay.
muted everyone.
Alan, you muted me?
I did. It's John.
Yeah, well, you can blame me. I wanted you muted. Almost 1,300 days fished by people's count, and I wouldn't trust their memory any more than I trust my own, but we'll call it 1,259. Almost 8 months of those were fished out of state. People wore masks and took off for the horizon. They went to 14 states, 6 countries, And Oregon turned out to be the most popular. Not surprising, it's probably the easiest, maybe besides Nevada. The reported most dazed fish were Tom
Can't leave,
Seidman.
and won't let you leave the meeting?
Tom literally wore out his
He's
truck
waiting.
and had to buy another truck because he drove so far. He had at least two years of, or 2 trips of, I don't know, 2,500 to 3,000 miles per trip. So back home, some of us were going to the tried and true. This would I would consider to be our home waters. If you've never been to the Middle Falls on the Upper McLeod, this is what it looks like, and it is really a spectacular setting. This is where we take our fundamentals students in the spring for one of the days. So we managed to make a transition on the McLeod outing from Mark Erickson, who had been the leader of that outing for, I'm going to say 30 years, but a long time, he and Bob Middlecroft. The fishing was quite good while they were there. This was a camping trip. I was there 2 weeks later and there was 3 inches of snow on the ground. Martin Cleary on the North Fork of the Yuba, he has a cabin in Downeyville. He was a first-time outing leader for that trip, and a number of beautiful fish were landed. We'll be back there next year, or this summer. Probably the best place in California to have a good chance of catching a trophy rainbow is right here in our backyard, Puda Creek. Martin Steinpress has his 24-incher caught not during the spawning time. This was early November. From 1st of December to January, everyone is requested not to fish the river. It's low, and these huge fish are up spawning in very skinny water. Lake Almanor has turned into be one of the most popular outings of the year. There's really 2 outings together. My memory is of a new fly fisherman, Mike Slinger, not taking fish from the river, but taking them to the river. Here he's got 18.5 pounds and he's told to run and get them in the North Fork of the Feather. We were helping the Fish and Game, Fish and Wildlife stock that part of the river. And later on Deer Creek, he managed to catch one of those fish. It didn't swim over from the North Fork, but there are a lot of fish that could be your first fish. And if it is your first fish, it's quite memorable. Brad with one of his very first. Paired with that Small Creeks outing is an evening hex outing out on Lake Almanor. And it's possible, it's capable of producing very large fish on a very large bug called the hexagenia, a banana yellow big fly, Baronosaurus of Mayflightum, comes off right at dark. Steve Garnick was one of 3 fishermen to catch brown trout of this size. He seems to be coming up with a lot of fish and some big ones on outings. He had to sacrifice a fly reel for this, though. It's down in Davy Jones' locker. You can ask Larry Blazer about his rod and reel that he sacrificed to get one like this. Our club expert on Bucks Lake is Steve Spiller. He's got a family cabin that's been in the family, I think, several generations. This is up not far from Quincy. Middle Fork of the Feather River runs right through that country. The Upper Sac was different, had a different personality this year. Many times it does, but so many people are not flying, but they're driving. I have never seen the river so impacted by fishermen. We had 21 coaches and students on this outing, and it proved to be very challenging. John Murphy This is close to his first fish, and he proved to pick up the skills very quickly. I'm impressed with John. He's really taken to the Stillwater Academy. You're going to hear more from John, I'm sure, in the coming years. Eric went on this outing. He was brave enough to sign up not knowing anyone or even where we were going, and he had a good time. And finally, Liam Dubles. He's got an interesting technique for fishing, but this is not what he would do normally. And I think he likes being out in the woods. His dad's hoping he can get him in the woods more often, but he caught several fish. And here are a couple of grandkids right here in our backyard at Lafayette Reservoir, Bryce and Avery Yeager. If you have kids or grandkids, I encourage you to submit their photos and also ask them to apply for the youth scholarship. We'll be looking for applications soon. The Fall River may be one of our most challenging fisheries. We have a cadre of club experienced fishermen, but when you go there the first time, if you can catch a fish, you should be proud. Rob Simpson takes his bass boat up there and launches it, and it's a large craft for that body of water, but he does very well. He's a dry fly expert. Dan and Pat Hovey, they're in my spot. I can tell by that stick up in the background of Dan's picture. Get out of there, Dan. Jerry Ng is our expert on tying tiny midge-like flies. They could be betas or they could be midges. And that's an old friend, Art Teeter, the guide Art Teeter with Jerry. It's a very nice fish on the fall. And here's Brian Miller's personal record from that stretch called Zugbug Alley. It's difficult to get a 24-incher out of this river because they typically dive into the water plants and get wrapped up, and you're using 6X, and it's tough to get them. Very nice, very memorable catch. We're not the only fishermen, and some are better than others. Here's one of my favorites from the year. Christy's gone through the fundamentals class just in the last couple of years. She was out on her own, spotted bugs, caught one in a bug net, picked out a fly, I think it's a light Cahill, made a good cast and drift and set a hook and managed to land this 17, 18-incher on a dry fly. In my mind, that's priceless. Brian Livingston is actively contributing to the Stillwater Academy and fishes Stillwaters. Was struggling recently on Baum Lake to catch fish, thinking they were taking betas, thinking they were taking dry flies. Used the new technique that we learned for throat pumping, not stomach pumping, and discovered that it was really scuds that we should be fishing Baum Lake with. And that was an epiphany for me, for sure. Brad, you saw before with his first fish. Brad has a fishing log. He's fished, I don't remember, 7 or 8 different streams this year, some with good success and some are confounding him. He called me and he said, "What is the deal with the truckies, the big and the little? I can't catch fish there." And I said, "Well, you got a lot of company." He's determined to be systematic. He's one of our PhD virologists. Fred Patton went on a buddy trip to the Truckee and had a very good success. I think he was in good hands and got good advice. Here's Dave Roach with a Trinity River Steelhead. We annually take trips over there, and it seems like it's gotten progressively more challenging. That's a nice fish that they've got. Typically a winter fishery. Brian Livingston with a large lower sack steelhead. I did not ask for evidence. I just took people's report, so you can judge for yourself. Here's Tom Morehouse with a typical Feather River steelhead. There's a bunch of them that run from 22 to 26 inches, and they're like big rainbows with a big heart. And he and Alan had a big day over there recently. Rich, our past outings commander, with a nice Feather River steelhead. And even the president, even executive time allows you to get into fish once in a while. And I got to tell you, John Kreider is the reason we've been in touch with everybody this year. He's the one that's helped us into this new era of Zoom. And he's upgrading from a modest sized bluegill to this steelhead for his iconic picture. And my heart's pounding for you, John. A couple of years ago, Dr. Shively announced that he's not fishing for trout anymore. He's going to go strictly two-handed and swinging flies for steelhead. And this is a beautiful fish, silver coastal. I think I know where you are there, Shively. I see that bridge in the background. And our true steelhead expert in the club, Rusty Mcbride, Captain Rusty Mcbride, on the Hoh River up in Washington. Rusty commonly gets this size of fish on the swing. He did not give me an official day count for the COVID year, but the 12 months before COVID shut us down, Rusty fished 167 days. He is a true expert, and I believe his favorite is swinging for steelhead. Here's our master at getting donations, Bill King, and catching trout on hoppers has got to be one of the more fun things. Now, if you could get him to smile, let me know. Get a picture of him when he's smiling. I could use it. Pat Konoski's not talking. He said, I didn't get to fish much, and I'm not going to report where I got these fish. Well, they're nice little ones. There's a category for small fish, so you're in it, Pat. This is an interesting story. Barry Williams is our lake expert, and one of them, and he came to the Hex talk that Lance Gray ran, fished at Lake Almanor, did not get a bite. He and Pat Littleton went back to their campsite at Lake Davis, and they spotted the Hexagenia, which is there in that little circle. They put on hexes where they thought they were going to use damsels and caught fish the next 2 nights. It is possible to teach old dogs new tricks. A footnote, Barry landed over 1,000 fish in 2020. A little hint, a bunch of them were shad. And there's his camping buddy, Pat's photo. Our Project Healing Waters vets have got a private water over there at Travis Air Force Base. You got to have a badge or be a vet or somehow get inside that place to go to this pond called the Duck Pond. And they all caught fish and a bunch of them and some really nice ones. So good on you guys. We'd like to get in there, but they may arrest us if we try. Vlad claims that nobody ever takes a picture of him, and most of the time we don't. But here's a nice one that he got from Kistler. Vlad is out all the time. He's one of our McLeod aficionados. You're lucky if you got Vlad as your partner for the day. Now, full disclosure, not all the time do our members use flies. So here's a couple of pictures from the dark side. There's Mike Slinger, who was stalking back there, and Scott Dowler, another new coach with a largemouth that he got down at Shadow Cliff. You have to have him tell the story. There is a reason he wasn't using the fly. Here's what you do when the bass aren't biting. And if you can get one of those things sight fishing, not accidentally, It's a memory. Kelsey Bass Ranch was sold. I don't know that we're ever going to get in there again. This week, if you were at the club meeting, you would have seen Todd's presentation on the East Walker. And here's Oregon. This is an interesting one. Jim Yakel yacked all day with the guy, didn't catch a fish, while his wife caught 25 or more. And that's his memory of the year. And Steve says he's our crab commander. He didn't go fishing this year, but he was up in the Deschutes. What he remembers about fishing is last year at the crab feed, he won the waders. He needed them. I said, what did you do with your old ones? He says, I gave them to my best friend. They were neoprenes. I'm not sure about being a friend with this guy, but he did a good job on the crab feed, I'd say, and we'll get a chance to give him an applause later. There's Tom on one of those truck beating trips at the Williamson. These fish come out of Klamath Lake when it warms up, and you get a chance in a river to get a very large rainbow. Rebecca has moved to Oregon permanently. She's going to be holding those fish all the time. Debbie won't tell us where she got that other than it was in Oregon. Les Hand, if you don't know Les, you should. He's fishing all the time, and Shirley is with him, and this is a beautiful fish from the Waihi. I will bet that half of you don't even know where that is. You'll have to call to find out. Jerry Ng reported it was the best steelhead trip ever, and he caught that. But he also caught this. And everyone on the Project Healing Waters trip got steelhead. For a steelhead trip, that's a big success. Brian Livingston, I'm not sure, this might have been his first steelhead on a trip organized by Cheryl. And Bob Eby, he's kind of quiet. He won't talk. He won't tell me where he got this. I can tell it was on a swing. It was in Oregon. That's a very nice steelhead, Bob. Montana, one of my favorite places to go. On a ski trip, Steve Garnick on the Gallatin. And this is a nice little Yellowstone cutthroat, which is the true native of that river. The fishing was fabulous. We found a warm water spring, and the river was just chock full of fish in that warm water near Big Sky. Here's a Madison River. Normally we would have many people on the Madison. Susan, probably that's one of many, if I know the Madison. The Missouri in Craig, Montana. There's a nice brown. I don't think this was on a trico. This might have been a hopper. The Beaver Head in the southwest corner, Mark and Patty Cedar Wall. Two groups went to this region up by Missoula, Phil Erickson and his crowd, and George Coughlin and his wife, Becky. We will try to have a club out-of-state trip next summer that will focus on the Bitterroot. This is what I consider my home state. These are the Maroon Bells, very near Aspen. The creek that comes out of Mirror Lake there goes into the Roaring Fork. And not far from here is where the Frying Pan enters the Roaring Fork. But Les and Shirley both had a memorable day there. This is a modest-sized brown from an area where you can catch them up to 15 pounds below Taylor Reservoir on the Taylor River, one of two small streams that form the Gunnison. This is near Crested Butte, just on the other side of those Maroon Bells. This is a little guy from the Arkansas River near Leadville. This guy came from downtown Vail, Gore Creek. This might be my best memory of Colorado. Potter goes on a backpack trip every year that's got llamas to carry everything. So he got his float tube delivered to over 10,000 feet. I don't know, that lake might be 11,000. and he caught the Colorado native fish, the greenback cutthroat. For years and years, probably started by Andre Ployens, our founder, there's been trips to the Green River. Phil Erickson is proud to have kept the tradition going after Andre's passing. This year, COVID shut down the airlines for most of us. Some decided to take a do-it-yourself trip and drive over, which is possible. Bernard Ringer, Dwight Doty, my cousin, and Tom, and we didn't see guides. We didn't eat in restaurants. We didn't encounter anything but fish. That's a typical Green River brown or rainbow. The very next week, Gary Turry was there with a group of 4, landed this very nice brown, and Wayne Hofer got a very memorable 24-inch brown with Gary. But I think the real memory of the Green River is this Yellowstone cutthroat. It's a native, and it's a true prize of the Green River, which is in extreme northeastern Utah. We have an East Coast branch of DVFF, Ray Hunt, and he gets to fish the Spring Creek every year. Idaho. Dirk Lant is one of our dry fly experts. He's logged over 150 days on Silver Creek. His memory was not this very nice fish, but the teenage girl that he taught the day before to cast dries, who then hooked and landed a fish like this, passing it on. Steve O'Brien over on Silver Creek. On the other side of Idaho, Henry's Fork and Kirsten. This picture holds a lot of memories for Kirsten. And there's a double, Les and Shirley. It's pretty rare on Henry's Fork to get a double. This has got to be the most understated picture of Willie with a fish I've ever seen. He is an expert on the Delta, but he logs 4 to 6 weeks on Henry's Fork every year, and he is our expert if you choose to go to Henry's Fork. Maybe 400 to 500 days on Henry's Fork. He likes green drakes and brown drakes. Here is a serving of stripers. Loretta is on our board, and by the way, she has a great article that she writes giving you links to websites, podcasts, and good on you, Loretta. That's a great article you write every month. I don't really consider those 2 stripers there, but a double that size is pretty good. I think this, Cheryl, you're photogenic is all I got to say, and that's a nice fish too. Some people travel to the far ends of South America. This is at the very tip on the at Tierra del Fuego on the Rio Grande. What's interesting here, Bob on the left and Kirsten on the right are showing 2 fish that are almost the same age. One's brave enough to go to the ocean, one maybe smart enough to stay in the river. About 700 miles north, Larry's got typical Patagonia brown. And this one should blow your mind. Bob Stabler, a 16.2 pound Jurassic Lake rainbow. That is, I wouldn't say a typical rainbow, but a very common rainbow. If you don't have special hooks, extra strong, you could have 50-pound test line, they'll get away because they'll straighten your hook. This one is pretty amazing. I don't know if I'm more impressed with Dan's effort to get into the Fly Shop travel magazine with that expression, or that 30-inch brown on a dry fly. This is over in Chile on the other side of the Andes. We do fish the salt in this club. And there's some unusual fish. Flounder. Andrew Slade, most of you don't know, but he's a real saltwater fisherman. John Barry likes to go every November, as I do, for redfish down in Louisiana. This is a bonefish, if you don't know. This Tom O'Brien escaped the state, went to the Bahamas, and then hung out in Cape Cod. 3 of us went to Christmas Island. And though Christmas Island has a reputation for small bones, this is not one of them. These are both trevallies, but not the giant trevally. You're wondering if we had a good time? Think no more. You can go to Campeche, about 3 hours from Cancun, and catch these tarpon. These are not baby tarpon, these are called juveniles. They are not the big ones, but I consider that a big fish. And in Mexico, Chris Clayton, our new board member, caught all kinds of things, a grouper, a needlefish, and check out this rooster fish, casting from shore. Rusty was in Cuba. I wouldn't want to unhook that guy. In Colombia, look at this trio of fish. I'm considering that's a peacock bass, and that's an exotic as far as I'm concerned. So with that, I'll give you my review of the top memories of the year. You gotta love this small sculpin. When you're after steelhead and this is what you get, it's gotta be worth something. They're bigger steelhead and more difficult to catch, but John, going from a bluegill to this has got to be my vote for the steelhead of the year. Cheryl, this is not the biggest striper, but that is the best picture of a striper I've ever seen, I think. William, he was ready to go back to the same spot when he came back in the fall. I'm not sure if the fish is more surprised or Dan. I've never caught a 30-inch trout, so you got me. For the lunker of the year, you just can't beat the 16-pounder. By the way, Bob knows the name of the stocking truck driver over at Markleyville on Carson, so he knows how to get big fish, but this is not a stalker. And the exotic of the year, I'm thinking that's Chris Clayton. And the family picture of the year, Chris, Kaylee, and Alexis Clayton. That's just about the best family picture I've ever seen. And in closing, I want to remember Kit Kohler, who went on to the Happy Hunting Grounds this year, joining his best buddy, Jim McCombs. I'm sure they're casting dry flies to willing fish. We miss you, Kit. That's our retrospective for the year. I'm going to turn it back over to John.
Alan, let's give Alan a big hand. Alan.
Alan.
How
do you see everybody?
Probably, they raise everything. I mean, it's.
Okay.
They make me co-host, John?
Yeah, you're co-host. You should be okay to go ahead.
Should I go ahead?
Yep. Let's see, Alan, you need to stop sharing. Okay, go ahead, Alan.
Have you got it back from me, John?
Yeah, you're okay. You're fine, Alan. Thanks.
Okay.
John, am I on?
You are.
Okay. I think, John, if you think we're set, I'll start.
Go for it.
Okay. So I am Al Peterson. I'm president of DVFF. This is our first virtual recognition, celebration, appreciation event. It's all built around our crab feed. And as you all know, we couldn't do that live this year. We've done it virtually. So we're going to celebrate over Zoom. I hope you all enjoyed your crab dinners. I know Ellen and I did. And we'll be thanking Steve Says and his team here in just a moment. I also hope you just enjoyed, got through Alan's slideshow, Alan Crichton. Hope it looks like about 64 of you enjoyed that. Yeah. Alan, thank you so much. That was wonderful. What a group of memories. This presentation is going to move very, very quickly. We're going to go through group by group, appreciating people. Just some key points. We are going to applaud, but we're going to wait until the end of each group, and you'll be coached on when to applaud. Loud is good. You can applaud in between if you'd like, but please know that you're muted. So John will be unmuting all of us when it's time to applaud. Some of you have a booklet on what we're going to go through tonight. Those that have a booklet either picked up a crab dinner this afternoon, or you are a leader or volunteer who is mentioned in the booklet. In that case, if you weren't at the crab feed, it was mailed to you. As we go along, we're going to reference what page we're covering. But if you don't have a booklet, please don't worry about it. Everything is on slides. And with that, I'm going to go to the agenda. This is a briefer agenda than you'll find on page 2 in the booklet, but it'll give you a pretty good idea of the flow. First thing we're going to do is go over the achievements of 2020, all on one chart. You will love it. Then we're going to go through recognition and appreciation. Then we're going to recognize the directors and officers of our board. And we're going to, unfortunately, one's going to leave us, not the club, but the board, but another one's joining. We'll cover that. We'll cover contests and awards and recognize people who have won them. We will, okay, we're going to go to the next slide. This is on page 6 and 7 in your booklet. These are all of the achievements for 2020 for our club. And this is some celebration. And this is an infographic. All of this was collected by Pat Konofsky from various leaders and volunteers. I'm going to go through it very quickly. You will see up on the top, we added 50 new members up in the top right. We had 12 meetings with wonderful speakers, some of them out of state, one even out of the country. We had a number of new activities, 6 new activities to help us deal with COVID. Many of those will continue into the future. We had 2 online auctions that raised, you'll see the number down on the bottom, $21,000 for scholarships and conservation. We had a crab feed early last year, live with everyone there, 160 dinners served. In the middle of the chart, up at the top, you'll see we had 27 educational opportunities, and these are a combination of fly fishing fundamentals, fly fishing proficiency, outings, fish talks, just the new Water Academy startup, just a number of things. Many of them, once we got into COVID in March and April, many of them over Zoom. Then we did have outings. We had 11 outings. Had to cancel a bunch of them, but we did have 11 because we figured out some rules thanks to our safety committee. We'll be talking about them a little later. Over to the right, strategic initiatives. Had 6 of those we had started a couple of years ago. We continued those, finished some of them. And then we had some adaptations in the lower right-hand corner. And that's where we use Zoom and some other online tools to cope with COVID, stay active, keep all of you involved in education and information. Down at the bottom, you'll see that 3 members were recognized. Trout's photo contest. We'll talk more about that a little later. And then our big award from Project Healing Waters, Fly Fishing, Club Excellence Award. And again, we'll cover that in a little bit as well. So this is a wonderful one-page review of what we accomplished. This is a view of all of our club leaders.
Wow.
We're going to be putting a number of them over the rest of this presentation. To some of you parents and grandparents, this may look like a Where's Waldo book. There's Waldo right there. Next, recognition and appreciation. We're going to do this in groups. I'm going to go through the different organizations that make our club run. And again, there will be some opportunities for applause, but we'll coach you. And we're going to be applauding these folks as we go. First, going to talk a little bit about the crab feed. John, is my screen still showing up here?
Yeah, but it just changed to crab pickup this afternoon.
Okay, that's
Something
what I
happened.
want.
Okay.
Okay, so this afternoon, we had many of you come and pick up your crab. It started with the East End arrival. You saw this wonderful sign. Then you got in line, some of you, some breezed right through, and you were able to get your check-in with Steve Spiller. A little bit further down, you were asked if you wanted some raffle tickets. Then down in the lower corner here, you saw the team we had that was fulfilling the orders, crab dinners and crab. And then after you all left, the crab raffle ticket team made sure that all the new raffle tickets were added to the other ones. And a little bit later, we're going to be announcing the raffle ticket winners. Okay, next, going to go over the crab team, the crab feed team. And this is the team that you saw this afternoon. These are the folks that put together the slideshow and the program volunteers. So to go through this, I'm going to ask Steve Sayes to join me. Steve, are you on?
I am.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
If you want to make some comments about the crab feed before we start recognizing some people?
Well, I know that the slides you sent me yesterday had everybody's picture, and I don't see that right now.
You will.
But with that being said,
There's your picture.
there we go. For the most part, this was really an opportunity to continue the tradition and fellowship that the club has in terms of extending, reaching out to each other and being able to continue what we enjoy so much, and that's good crab and a nice pasta dinner. And I'd like to recognize the group that helps me put it together.
Okay, here we go.
There we go. There we go. So that guy that just popped up, that's my wingman, Steve Spiller, who, when I get the costs for the crab and the caterer that gives me the costs for their services, I tell him, I says, hey, put this in your crock pot crab calculator and let's see what we're going to come up with, because this was a different scenario in terms of not having the opportunity to gather like we normally do. And this was a different scenario where we were going to do it kind of like a food bank concept. And it worked out really well. Now that's my little Yorkie in the background kind of yapping away. Pat is excellent in terms of his ability to put together all of the communications, whether it's the monthly newsletter or information on the crab feed itself. Next person that's going to come up is our intrepid president, Al Peterson, who his job was to control the traffic coming into the parking lot venue and make sure that everybody understand that they were the ones to come in on the eastern end of the driveway. Paul was not able to be in attendance, and
But he did put together the program booklet that everybody has, or a lot of people have.
Yep. So he put together the program that everybody has, and thank you for his input. And there we have the great Bill King, who was able to put together the prizes for the raffle, and we'd like to thank Bill for that. And Mark, I tell you, I got to hand it to Mark. I got to tip my hat off to Mark, because you could not proceed to the pickups location until you got through Mark, and he was able to sell raffle tickets for people that were interested in continuing to get involved in the raffle. Had to go through Mark. Our next person, John Kreider. Obviously, he is the one that I was telling him tonight or earlier today, because of his experience with the Zoom program. He's the Rune Arledge of making sure that everything is running very smoothly on the Zoom program. Alan Christian, great slideshow showing all the different fish outings that people have experienced during this past year in a very unusual year. John Murphy, excellent job with all of the photos on the slideshow. Excellent pictures of people experiencing great scenarios, catching small fish, big fish, medium-sized fish. It was excellent. Ivan Lee.
And Ivan Lee helped put together the Member of the Year Award.
Yep. Next slide.
Then we have the distribution team, some additional volunteers.
Yep, that's the venue where we picked up the crab today. I don't know who that guy is that just popped in your screen, but John was after Steve handed everybody a little card, it was next handed to John to make sure that yes, this person picked up their crab, and he did the checklist. Gene was part of the distribution team to make sure everybody got their crab in their truck and their car in a very safe manner, as well as John Kreider. Make sure crab, pasta, French bread. Loretta, she was busy bagging all the crab and was diligent on that. Lance, he made sure that the west end driveway was not going to be entered by anybody incorrectly. And if he had the opportunity to sell crab out there in the drive, he would have done it, because people were walking by and asking him what's going on. My good friend Don, he was handing everybody bottles of wine, just left and right. How many bottles of wine do you want? Don was doing it. And then Tom Morehouse, he was there helping stage the crab dinners, and did a great job. And I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for their
Yes.
And we're way the heck out. All of us all the way to
I don't know about the applause, Al. There was a bunch of background noise, but we'll try again. So if everybody would give everyone a big hand, I'm going to unmute everyone. So let's give the distribution team a big hand.
Mrs.
Tickets still available. Tickets still available.
Okay, it's muted again. You're up, Alan.
I think I'm muted.
Nope, I unmuted you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks everybody. We're going to move now to another slide. These are past club presidents. This picture was taken in 2018 as part of our 50th club anniversary. we wanted to particularly recognize past presidents. They are on page 12 of your booklet, those of you who have one. As you look at this list, you'll notice 7 or 8 of these past presidents are still very active in the club. We just very much appreciate all of the leadership, all of the time, and the continued involvement that the past presidents have had in our club. So just thank you very much. We won't do our applause here, but please all know that we appreciate you. Next, we're going to cover program leaders of the club. Those of you who have a booklet can look on page 10. You'll find that this is one of the categories of activity leaders. These are the folks that are involved in informing the club, helping educate the club, helping keep us safe, and some of the outreach programs we have. And I'm going to go quickly through and recognize these folks. First is Bill King. He's in charge of our monthly meetings. Rich Burdone was in charge of our outings throughout a few years and throughout most of 2020. Barry Zacharias took over from Rich late last year and is now our outings leader. Willie George heads up our casting instruction. He's assisted by Gary Turi, but we have 4 FFI certified casting instructors in the club. 2 others, Bill Galogli and Cheryl O'Neill, work with our Project Healing Waters veterans and their casting. Alan Crichton is in charge of our FFF and FFP education. Larry Griffiths heads up our fly tying and also our wind knots mailing. Moving to some more, Gene Blazik is chair of our Golden Trout Award program. David Roach is in charge of conservation, our Bay Area Youth Fly Fishing Outreach Program, along with 6 or 7 other fly fishing clubs, but Dave leads that whole effort. And he's also our Trout Unlimited liaison. David Lipscomb is the program lead for Project Healing Waters, our program for disabled vets. Jerry Ng, up until late 2020, had 2 roles. He was involved in our Northern California Conference Fly Fishing International group as a liaison and as a board member. He also was chair of our Trout in the Classroom program until late 2020. At that point, Lance Connolly took over Trout in the Classroom, and Mark Lykos became our NCC FFI liaison. Mark has also set up our online fly tying program, and he manages that now. Over to the right, Loretta Strickland is chair and leader of our women's program. John Carpenter heads up our safety committee, and Wayne Hofer heads up our rod building program. He also heads up rod building for the Project Healing Waters veterans. I think we're at the point, John, where we need a big applause for this program leader group as well.
Here we go, guys.
Well, especially.
They're applauding us now.
So
Unmute everybody and applaud.
Hey, John, I'm assuming you can hear me still?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. Next group is event leaders. These are social events or fundraising events, and some end up being kind of a combination of both. Steve Stays, as you know, is our crab feed chair. We have 2 people who team together on auctions, but Bill King has really been the leader of both our spring and fall online auctions. Working with him, our online auction guru is John Kreider. And then we also had a fly tying contest, and George Coughlin brought that to the club, organized it, and ran it. So it's another time for applause, please, John.
All right, applause.
Okay. Nice job. We're going to
You're
move
back
to
on, Al. Go for it.
We're going to move to operations leaders. Are the areas of the club that keeps it running. Everything from membership to communications, newsletter, merchandise, video rentals. Here we go. Wayne Hoper is our membership chair. Pat Konoski actually does all of these things. Webmaster Winnot, the new Last Cast supplement, social media, and all of the communications that announce various things. Michael Ellery is assisting him on the website, as is Bob Upshaw. Larry Griffiths is in charge of newsletter circulation. Bill King arranges for our monthly speakers. Ray Hunt, who I believe is joining us tonight, all the way from Pennsylvania, up until late last year, was in charge of merchandise.
I'm here.
Hey, thank you. And Paul Bradley, his place, the end of last year. We haven't been able to do much with merchandise because of COVID, but we will. Thank you, Paul. And Richard Lindbergh, similarly with video rentals, we'll be able to get back into that. And that's what Richard Lindbergh has been heading up for us. Moving to the next group, Steve Anderson is the book library. Ivan Lee helps with the, actually does the brochures and helps me with putting together awards. And Kirby Elvin is our raffle guru. Another time for Flynn.
No, Gavin.
Go now to page 3, and Barry Zacharias, would you join me? Are you with me, Barry?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Okay. So we're going to talk now about outing leaders. So Barry, tell us briefly what an outing leader does.
An outing leader helps coordinate the outing. They will choose the location, maybe arrange some details for travel, provide information about where to stay, where to eat, where to fish, what maybe the what to fish with and what to expect for species and things like that. So it could be a whole host of things that an outing leader does.
Okay, let's review who they were. I'll click the picture up and you can introduce them. You ready?
I'm ready. Fire away. So the first one up is Jim Crocker. He hosted the East Carson last year in November or October. Cheryl O'Neill hosted the Steelhead on the Rogue, I believe, in early part of the year.
North Umpqua, I think.
What's that?
I think it was a North Umpqua, but I'm not sure.
Maybe it was North Umpqua. Wayne Hofer hosted the Eastern Sierra outing, and I think maybe a couple others, but that's the one I remember. Larry Blazer, the McLeod, and now an expert Euro nympher. Tom Morehouse also helped Wayne with the Eastern Sierra. Alan Crichton is our arm twister. He's involved with a number of outings and just a great person to help with learning fly fishing. John Guerrera, he did a number, I think, on small creeks and the Truckee, working mostly with John Biaki. One of our favorite guides. John Barry is famous for the upper sack outing and learning tight line nymphing techniques. I don't know who Al Peterson is. Yeah. He helped with the McLeod, and he also helped with the Kistler Ranch. Brett Schaefer, he's our Baum Lake expert, or heads up the outing for there. John Bailey does the Eagle Canyon outing. Usually in March or April, I believe. Steve Carter, I believe, was Pyramid Lake. Martin Clary, the North Yuba. Gary Swanson, I believe, also helped with the North Yuba. And Bill King, a number of Steelhead and Stillwater outings. And that's our outing leaders. Next year, I think the list will be twice as long, looking at what we have planned for 2021.
They're all on page 3, and it's time for applause again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Very different.
Okay, next up is the coaches, FFF, FFP coaches. And Alan Crichton, would you join me?
The thing about coaches is that they're not just organizing the trip. They, at least on our fundamentals outings, are actually coaching two students, and they stay with them. And these people come on these outings, pay for their all of their expenses, and basically donate most of their fishing time to try to pass on both skills and love of the region. Starting off, John Berry, he has been doing the Upper Sac seminar. He started it, and it's over a quarter of a century that John has done this. He is originally from near Quincy, and on our Almanor outings, adds a great deal of local fishing knowledge to that entire region. Larry Blazer, one of our coaches. Bruce Burke is a longtime Upper Sac aficionado, one of John Berry's friends. I'm there on almost all of these outings. Lance Conley is a brand new coach this year and did a fabulous job getting both of his fishermen into fish, which none of the other coaches could say on the Upper Sac. George Coughlin heads up the small creeks at Almanor. Scott Dowler, another new coach. Both of Lance and Scott stepped up from being students to demonstrating their competency. Willie George is doing a great job on the Stillwater Academy, which I encourage everybody to consider. This is one of the biggest learning experiences we've all had. Wayne Hofer also heading up the Stillwater Academy. Rusty Mcbride is a Upper Sac regular. Tom Moran, who lives up there now, ex-president, Upper Sac. Al Peterson, Upper Sac, Almanor, and other parts beyond. Tom Seidman, special note on Tom. I assign athletic people to Tom because his teaching technique is catch me if you can. We tell everybody don't fish behind him. Ted Shappas loves to take new fishermen that may not be strong waders and show them a way to catch fish in maybe heavily fished waters. And then Barry Zacharias is the club Euro nymphing expert and has run many of our outings that focus on that technique.
Okay, another chance for applause, please.
Yippee yahoo!
And this kid had lost.
We go to the mentors.
Our mentors are people who help with the fish talks. They may go on outings and provide more than just there's the stream information. Jim Crocker helped on the bugs talk. Kirsten is our expert on the McLeod. He actually knows the middle name of some trout up there on the McLeod. Did you get Kirsten? Or maybe there he is. He's also a musician. That's where that picture comes from. John Kreider is really key to the program by keeping us zoomed straight. Mark Lykos is my standby. In case something happens to me, he would take over the fundamentals class. Did you know that, Mark? Tom Morehouse has always been there, in particular on the Eastern Sierra. Rob Simpson on most of the fundamentals classes. He's there as an experienced fisherman this year, at least. And Gary Swanson, same thing. He helped in the bugs presentation.
Okay, another round of applause, please.
Into it. Full board. She said I wasn't going to just do a pony little trip. She fell and went,
Okay, next up is our safety committee. A little background on this. The club had a strategic planning session years ago. We prioritized what was most important to the club, and safety came out as the #1 area that we absolutely wanted to make sure that we were focused on. And out of that came an initiative, and from the initiative came a safety committee. We really are trying to put safety first in this club, and this happened well before COVID, but COVID added its own little element to it. We have a safety committee chair, John Carpenter, and through John's leadership, so far we have modified the member agreement. We have built a policy document that's now in the club handbook that we are working to follow. As all of you I think know, we have developed COVID outing rules that we are following, and we're closely following. We also developed a communication with our insurance broker and insurance carriers to let them know that we have a safety committee, with them our policy, our changes, and our rules. Now I'll introduce some of the, I will introduce the safety committee. The first up is Crichton, and he's listed a little bit higher than the others because we listen to him more than we listen to each other when we meet. Crichton, is, all of you may know, is has a PhD from Harvard in virology, which has been very important to us as we look at COVID and try to come up with both practical and safe rules for our outings. Along with Kirsten, and on that committee is Alan Crichton. Barry Zacharias is newly on that committee, replacing Rich as Barry took over as outings chair. I'm on the committee. David Lipscomb, who heads up our Project Healing Waters group and has been through their own challenges of making sure that they are doing things safely, is on that committee. And Steve Spiller is on that committee as well. This group has allowed our club to get out in early June, back out into outings safely. We are now, because of the firm stay at home, we're now back away from going out on outings, but we're ready again with these rules to get out when we can. So based on that leadership and helping us get back out there and keeping us safe, please give this group a big applause as well.
His screen.
Yay.
Portland's a small town. We've always
Yay.
been by a lot of
Thank you.
area companies.
Not going to spend lots of time on, but we do have club sponsors. And these folks support us financially. They support us in another way, some of them, especially some of the ones up on the top of the list here. They also encourage people that come into their shops, like Fish and Creative Sports, and probably the Fly Shop up in Redding as well. New people that are involved in fly fishing who might be looking for a fly fishing club to join are encouraged to come take a look at us by these sponsors. But please be aware of these sponsors: Fish First, Creative Sports, Fly Shop across the top, Confluence Outfitters, Fly Fisher Magazine, and across the bottom, Montana Fly Company, Mel Krager's Club Pacific, and the Trout Spot. They are sponsoring the club, and we appreciate them. Next, we would like to recognize the directors and the officers of our club board. And we'll also have indication of a new member to the board. First, I'm going to cover the board officers and directors in place as of 2020 and throughout the year 2020. I am club president. John Guerrera is the club secretary, keeps us organized, communicates things throughout the club, and makes sure that we're following through on things. Steve Spiller is our treasurer and also is a board director. Gene Blazik is the director. You've already heard of some of his. By the way, I should mention that everyone on this board is also involved in activities within the club. So you've seen their picture, you've heard about them already in our appreciation flow here. I would characterize Gene as being particularly thoughtful board member, really important to me. He asks all the right questions. Loretta is a board director. one of the things he brings is just a lot of ideas and a lot of connections and experiences in other clubs. Barry Zacharias, board director, very analytical. That's really been helpful to our board as we start into projects. Mark Lykos, board director, incredible at follow through. Dave Roach, board director, very much into important details and making sure we're focused on important details. Paul Bradley, another one of the directors, has really been good about finding where there are needed holes to fill, where he can come and help the rest of us. He offers to do it and he does it, and it's really helpful. And John Kreider, another board director, is just incredibly well prepared and just helps us in lots of ways. Now, unfortunately, John Kreider approached me about a year ago and said he would like to move off of the board, had some other things he wanted to go focus on. I begged him to stay a year ago, and he stayed. So John, thank you so much. Thank you for your board service. As we look into 2021, John, of course, leaves a hole, but we have filled it with a new board member, joined us in December, an official board member as of January, and that's Chris Clayton. Chris brings a lot of ideas and a lot of energy, and Chris, we're just glad to have you on the board. All of the board members will receive a gift certificate, both officers and directors, but Steve Spiller, you still only get one certificate. So now we'd like to appreciate the group as well. John?
Have a big applause.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And this group
Thank
was
you.
listed
Yeah.
on page-
Thank you, fellas.
This group was
Yeah.
listed.
Say it again, Al.
This group was all listed on page 12, kind of the back of your booklet. Okay, we're going to go now is into contest and award recognition. There were some contests. One was a club contest. The other, which has already been mentioned, was a photography contest. The first was our Corona Bug Challenge. This was a DVFF fly tying contest, very creative, themed around the Corona bug. We had two divisions, one for DVFF and the other one for Project Healing Waters fly fishing veterans. The winners in each division won I believe it was a half case of Corona Extra beer. The winner of the DVFF division was Lance Connolly. The division of the Healing Waters division was Jeff Marshall. And the creator of the Corona Bug Challenge was George Coughlin, who created it, organized it, announced it, found the judges for it, and it just really created a lot of fun within the club. Now, before we appreciate and these two winners, I want to show you their flies. The winning entry for the club division was C-OVA-19 by Lance Connery. You can see it, it kind of looks like the coronavirus, doesn't it? The next winning entry was in the Healing Waters division, and that was Jeff Marshall. He named his fly, which you can see there on the left-hand side, "You dropped my Corona, go get it terrestrial." Jeff Marshall, winner of that one. So now, let's see, can I go back? Let me stop right there. And John, we need to appreciate these two winners if we could.
All right, let's give them a haul. Let's give them a big applause.
Way to go.
Oh, yeah, they're very, very lucky. So much luckier.
We're going to go, okay, we're going to go on to the Cal Trout photo contest. I just wanted to show you again the photos. Alan showed them in his earlier slideshow, so I won't take a lot of time on it. I just want to tie the winners and their pictures to the winning photographs. This was photo contest finalist, and the photographer was Crichton. The next one, which was of the Fall River Valley, was both a finalist and a winner. Brian Miller was the photographer for that one. And the third one was Early Bird Gets More Than the Worm. That was taken by Owen Turner. And now it's time, whoops, just a second. And now it's time to congratulate the 3 winners of that, John, if we could.
That's nice. Good job. Taking pictures.
He took that.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Next, we're going to cover the big award that the club got from Project Healing Waters. This was awarded to Diablo Valley for our excellence in our Healing Waters disabled vet program. I talked a bit about it earlier. This is the award shown being held by David Lipscomb, who has been the project lead of our outstanding program for 10 years. You can see listed on the right-hand side all of the different volunteers that have made this support of our veterans possible. I'll just mention a few. The program lead, David Lipscomb, as I mentioned, and he has a couple of assistant program leads, Bill Galozzi and Brian Miller. But if you look at all of the different volunteers who have helped with fly casting, fly tying, outings, fundraisers, just really a group effort. And this award is really a pride of the club. And thank you so much, David Lipscomb, for your leadership in that. It's time for applause again. By the way, this is all on page 5 in your booklet. Applause, please, John.
Yay.
Good job.
I'm so impressed with how these.
Okay, I wanted to recognize 3 particular individuals. These are club leaders who in 2020 really helped our club adapt and innovate despite COVID. You've seen their pictures a number of times already this evening. They are Bill King on the left, Pat Konoski in the middle, Alan Crichton on the right-hand side. If you look just briefly at Bill King, he has taken advantage of the Zoom platform to bring in some wonderful remote speakers, helped organize 2 online auctions, found all the items for those auctions, and worked with John Kreider and a number of volunteers and donors. Crab feed Raffle Items came through Bill, and he just works like a tiger on membership renewals as well. Pat Konoski, you saw the long list of communication things that he brings to the club, but he brought a new supplement to the club. He figured out how we could record all of these Zoom meetings so they could be retrieved later, and it's just really helped our club adapt. Alan Crichton has taken all of the fly fishing fundamentals and proficiency courses and worked with John to get them on Zoom, worked with Pat so they could be retrieved. He not only is involved in education, but he's an outing leader, coach, and mentor of himself, and he put together a wonderful DVFF slideshow. We are thanking these 3 in particular, each with a gift certificate at the local fly shop, and just really appreciate their help. By the way, I'm going to just go back for a second. Another thing I should mention of all 3 is that all 3 of them have contributed to the club on a sustained basis. It's one of the reasons that all of them have previously been awarded Member of the Year of the club, all 3 of these. And speaking of Member of the Year,
wait, we want to recognize these 3. We want to recognize these 3, right? And give them a round of applause, right?
Oh yeah, we sure do.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yay.
So sad.
Yeah.
All right, you're up, Al.
Okay, thank you. Now, DVF Member of the Year. I'm going to just let you know that this is a big club award. It's very important to the club. It's a big deal to win this. The past winners are on page 11 of those of you who have a booklet. It's awarded to a member who has contributed substantially to the club over time, and especially in the current year. This year, I asked club leaders for nominees. I also asked for nominees for President-elect, who will replace me. Over on the Member of the Year award, there were a number of nominations for the same person. In fact, the choice this year was really pretty clear, and helpfully so, from other club leaders. The winner this year of Member of the Year is very active in the club and has been both involved in DVFF as well in Project Healing Waters for 6 or 7 years. He has been a board member for the last 5 or 6 years. He has organized the annual barbecue. And this year in March, when the COVID lockdown hit us, he selected Zoom as a monthly tool. And yes, I'm talking about John Kreider. He selected COVID as the tool for the club in March, before most of us had even heard of Zoom. He made sure that we conducted our April board meeting on Zoom, our April club meeting on Zoom. Then he worked with Alan Christensen to get all of our education on Zoom. We have put our club meetings on Zoom. We're recording those Zooms so that we can record them later. And if that isn't enough of a contribution, he's been actively involved in working with Bill King over on the auction side to convert our auction into 2 online auctions, one in May, one in December. Together, these 2 led an effort to generate $21,000 in 2020 that we're applying toward conservation and scholarships, the most we've ever generated in a year. He's our online auction guru. He's our Zoom guru. He's contributed substantially to the club over the years. And John, I'm just very pleased to announce you as DVFF 2020 Member of the Year. As soon as I get a chance, I'm going to bring this plaque to you that has on it that huge fish that I saw you catch in November on the Feather River. So John, congratulations. You're Member of the Year for 2020. Now please unmute all of us so we can congratulate you.
You might be able to get
Thank you, Alan.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Nice.
you.
And we got another one today. And, you know, much
John, you muted everybody too early, but okay.
Oh, well, that's good.
All right. Okay.
So
the next,
Al, I'm sorry. Something's come up, and we have an unexpected change to the agenda.
okay.
So I have to interrupt you before we go forward. Okay.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things I have to share. So I think everyone is probably aware that Frank Harris, our DVFF president, passed away in early 2019. And at that point, a successor had not been selected. And with no preparation, with no warning, Al Peterson, who had just joined the board, agreed to take on the role of president. And we had a good year in 2019 with good meetings, and we had good outings. And then in early 2020, as we all know, COVID hit. And in spite of that, DVFF has accomplished a great deal in 2020, as you've just heard. And though there are a lot of us that helped, we would not have achieved what we did without the incredible leadership of Al Peterson. So, Al, I have to tell you that the board has unanimously agreed to present you with this award for exemplary leadership of the Diablo Valley Fly Fishing Club for the years 2019 and 2020. So it's my pleasure to congratulate you. And honestly, I would like everyone to focus on this and give Al a big round of applause because he has worked tirelessly for this club.
All
Thank you, Al.
Good job.
Said my friend.
Congratulations.
Back to you, Al. Oh, sorry.
You want me to go back to mine?
Now you're unmuted. Go ahead. Yes.
I need to go back to my slide, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
Just click on one near the bottom and then do screen share. Yeah, that one. Yeah. There you go.
Okay, this is Steve Spiller. I'm going to let everybody know about the raffle. Since we had to run the event different this year, it was a little challenging to figure out how to do the raffle and hand out tickets. So what we decided to do was sell tickets online when you purchased your dinners. So what we did was we took the raffle wheel that Kirby Elvin had built, and as people bought their tickets, you were assigned a range of tickets based on how many you bought, and they went in the raffle wheel. So during the course of registration, we had 68 members purchase tickets online. And then today, because of the strong arm of Mark Lykos, we sold another 30 people more tickets, many of which had bought tickets before. So we drew the tickets after everybody had picked up their crab. Steve Sayes drew most of the tickets, and then we had Eileen Lawrence, who runs the Lafayette Veterans Memorial Center, pull the grand winner. So I'd like to go through the raffle items and announce the winners. The first one is a Eurofly Assortment. It's 9 different half-dozen flies, all Euro style, a box of 54, and the winner is John Gorham. Let's go to the next one. It's a Hills Fly Assortment. This is an assortment of dry flies, nymphs, and streamers. And the winner of this item was Al Tricano. The third item is a Rio Grande weight forward 5-weight floating line. It can be exchanged. And the winner of that is Jeff Bennett. And the fourth item is a Lamson Remix fly reel. It's for a 5-6 weight. And the winner of that is Eric Yule. And the next item is a fish pond rod and gear bag. Holds multiple rods and lots of reels. The winner of that is Brett Eckert. And the grand prize is a Sage 8-foot 9-weight RPL 5-weight fly rod. The winner of that is Jeff Marshall. And 4 of our winners purchased their tickets in advance of the meeting, and 2 of them purchased their tickets today. I have all the raffle items. I will be reaching out to all the winners to work out an arrangement for delivery, or in the case of the fly line, exchanging it for a different fly line. So congratulations to the winners, and thank you everyone. We did really well on our raffle. I think we actually raised more money on this raffle than we have in the last few years. So thank you all for contributing. Back to you, Al.
And please, some applause for the people who worked on the raffle, the donors, and all of the raffle participants and the winners. Applause, please.
Guess what? 3 days.
Steve, anything more to add?
Nothing else from me, no.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Unless there's any other Any other things I don't know about? Boy, that was a surprise. I think we're ready to close. Let me go to Steve. Steve, anything more you'd like to say before we close tonight?
I'd like to again thank all my volunteers that helped with the crab feed, the facility. Eileen Lawrence was great. All of the vendors stepped up and put together a great assortment of meals. And I hope everybody enjoyed the crab because I know it was very tasty tonight.
And Steve, we sure owe you and everyone who helped you a lot of appreciation. It was just very well run. No one, very few, when we heard this idea of a virtual crab feed, could imagine how it was going to work. But you knew, and you stuck with it, and you just kept gathering volunteers around you and organized it, and it just seemed to come off without a hitch in the parking lot. Crab was delicious, and hopefully everyone feels that this whole day and evening has gone well. So thank you all for your patience, for your participation, and this celebration, recognition, and appreciation is over. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Good night, all.
Good
Good night.
Be safe.